Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tangent Podcast. This is Jack and my good buddy Austin coming at you with another episode for you today. How are you, Austin?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, my good man?
Oh, I am just dandy, you know? I'm here. It's never a bad thing.
I'm glad you're here.
Love talking about spooky and unexplained stuff with you. It's always it's the highlight of my week.
Me too. It is. It is.
Well, why don't we get started here? And in lieu of drinks today, because A, we're running out of drinks to try, and B, it is 9 p.m. on a weekday, and not, energy drinks really aren't the best option at that point. We have candies instead. And
do we? Go ahead. Sorry.
I can't see it. Your thing is there. It goes. Austin's got himself some toxic waste, which is hazardously sour candy, and I'm looking online, is apparently one of the most sour candies you can get. I tried to find some, was unsuccessful in my efforts, so I do not have any, but I found super sour double drops from Warheads. that I don't know.
Super sour double drops?
I'm not sure if that's comparable, but I mean, it's at least something, I think.
Well, let me read you the description of toxic waste. It says, if warheads are for amateurs, toxic waste is for pros. The sour sucker is typically deemed most sour on roundups all over the web, but be sure to look for the brand's nuclear fusion variety that takes two flavors from hazardously to potentially vomit-inducing levels of tartness.
Oh, goodness.
Goes without saying they're not for the faint of heart. So we'll see. I don't know if this is the nuclear fusion one or not, but I don't believe so. But you wanna open these bad boys up?
Sure.
Alrighty, here we go.
I don't know how you're supposed to eat mine, honestly. I think it's just liquid. I think you just squirt it in your mouth.
Alrighty.
How do I open this as well? What do you think? Not that sour?
No.
That's disappointing.
That is like so not sour in the least bit.
Really?
Let me try the lemon one.
Let's see. Do I just squirt this like that? Oh. It's a little sour. I wouldn't go super sour, but
okay. My one's a bit more sour, but it's not bad.
Yeah, same here, honestly. It's a little sour, but man, I'm a little disappointed, honestly.
Oh, dude, I am too. I expected greatness, and that was like, I felt like Warheads are worse.
Really? It doesn't say it's worse than Warheads?
Yeah, I don't know.
Weird. Well, sorry that's not more entertaining for you folks at home, but unfortunately, I guess Austin just has sour
Maybe I have a dead
steel.
tongue. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was. I'll have to look for the nuclear sludge one or whatever, the nuclear fusion one, because that was lame. Yeah. Okay. I'll order the nuclear fusion one, and I'll get it here.
Alright, maybe I should too. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Alright, let's get started with keep going into the episode. You want to go some space news, or are we not doing space news today?
We can do some space news. I'll get it going for us. Alright, so this one's crazy. The Earth's core has, get this, stopped, and it may be reversing direction.
Sounds horrifying.
The inner core of the Earth has apparently recently stopped spinning, and now may be reversing the direction of its rotation. And they found this by like using seismic waves from earthquakes to detect how the core was moving. And apparently the Earth's center pauses and reverses direction about every 60 to 70 years.
Oh, really?
And they think that this may be linked to some of the geological phenomena and climate mysteries that they've been trying to figure out for a while that happen on a similar time frame and that have a big effect on the planet. So that is possibly causing some issues with the climate, potentially climate change or other negative effects on the Earth. So interesting. Apparently the inner core is a solid metal ball, and it's about 3/4 the size of the moon, and it can just kind of spin on its own compared to how the planet is spinning. So it doesn't change the direction of how the planet spins. It's just that core. And then there's like a liquid core that surrounds that metal ball. But they're not like exactly sure how fast it spins or if it's a constant rate of spinning. But yeah. So about 3,000 miles below our feet is the core.
Good to know. Disturbing, but
yep,
nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, I don't know how big of an effect it's really having, but yeah.
Alrighty. It's nice, some nice space news. All right, we got ourselves an encounter. This one's a short one, so should be good. Titled "The Impish Ghost." The Impish Ghost goes: My neighbor Diane and I had a playful poltergeist for years. We called it Billy. I'd come home and find something put in a weird place. Milk in the cupboard, toilet paper in the fridge, laundry detergent in the bathtub. Diane once called to ask if Billy had been around because she couldn't find a gallon of milk. We finally found it outside on her back steps. And sugar. Darn sugar. Every morning my sugar bowl was empty. When I'd had enough, I would point to Diane's home and yell, "Go see Diane." Within 5 minutes, I'd get a call from her. "Thanks a lot," she'd say. He'd gone and pulled shenanigans at her place. This occurred for the entire 2 years we lived there. No one believed us, not even our husbands. My mother thought someone was stealing from us when we were sleeping or out of the house. My sister believed something was going on, but didn't know what. I still can't explain any of it.
That's a fun one.
Playful little poltergeist. I like that. He's just like, your milk's now in the back patio. Your toilet paper's in the fridge. What are you gonna do about it?
Dude, that would 100% be me. Like, I bet it's one of their relatives just playing jokes on him. I would be the guy like moving your chair before you sat down or like hiding your remote. I don't know. I'd do stupid stuff like that.
That's interesting. It's a fun story.
That is funny. Yeah.
You never know. Alrighty, well, let's get into today's episode, shall we?
We shall.
Today's episode, if you read the title, which would be weird if you didn't, but if you haven't, that's pretty cool. Good for you. Is about Hinterkaifeck. Austin, you've heard of Hinterkaifeck Murders, have you?
Oh, I have. I haven't heard a ton. I know the overview of the story. I don't know what Hinterkaifeck means.
Hinterkaifeck literally translates to back of the woods, I believe.
Huh.
And
so that was the name of like the homestead, right, where this happened?
It was like the Hinterkaifeck Farms. That property was called that. So it's not like a place anymore or like a city or anything like that. So
gotcha.
Hinterkaifeck Murders are probably one of the most famous murder stories in the world, because of how strange it is and how no one can explain any of it, basically. And likely we will never know. But it is a very interesting story. So These murders occurred in 1922 in a Bavarian farmstead located 43 miles north of Munich, Germany.
Okay. First of all, Bavaria, is that... I hear that all the time. Is it like a state in Germany, or is it like its own thing, or...
Let's see. Bavaria, officially the Free State of Bavaria, is a state in southeast Germany.
Okay.
The largest German state by land area, comprising roughly a fifth of the total land area of Germany. I didn't know that either, honestly, so it's good to know.
I always hear like Bavarian cream or Bavarian Motorworks.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. On March 31st, 1922, 6 victims were murdered in Hinterkaifeck Farm, and 5 of which were the Gruber family. There was Andreas Gruber, 63 years old, Kalizia Gruber, I'm sorry if I get that wrong, aged 72, their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, 35, and their children, or Victoria's children, another Kazilia, age 7, and Joseph, 2. 2 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, that's sad. 7 and 2-year-old. And then the one that was not a member of the family was their maid, Maria Baumgartner, and she was 44 years old. But let's not get straight into that. Let's talk about a little bit before. We're going to go back into the past a little bit. So Hinterkaifeck Farms was built in 1863, give or take or so. And before, so the maid they had, Maria Baumgartner, was not their main maid. I think it was called, what do they call it? Like a live-in maid or something like that. Someone that lives with the family.
They had a secondary maid?
No, actually. So the what is the word I'm trying to look for? Holy crap, I am blanking so hard. The first maid, I guess, their primary normal one. I don't know what I'm blanking on so hard. She had been with them for, I want to say 5 years or so. Years. We'll say years. So, with them for a while. And, but she had been coming around in end of 1921, beginning of 1922-ish area, and coming to, what was his name? Andreas. Andreas. I don't exactly know how to say, German accent name. So I'm going to say Andreas, the head of the house, and saying, hey, I'm noticing some weird going-ons around the house. And he'd go, well, what do you mean? And she said, let's see, that she heard strange sounds in the attic and believed the house to be haunted. She would also hear tapping coming from within the walls and speaking and walking around up in the attic at night. Like people talking, and it would keep her up. And she would tell the Andreas, and he'd go, okay, and go look in the attic. Nothing there. It was empty. They didn't really use it. There wasn't a ton of storage in there. Not much to be seen. And she would come up to him and say this, okay, I know I sound crazy. I know I've told you this before, and I know you went up there, but there is somebody in the attic. And he would check 3-4 times on different occasions. Nothing every time. So eventually she came up to him and just said, I can't work anymore. I cannot do this. This place is haunted. It's evil. It's keeping me up at night. It's scaring me. I'm sorry, but I quit, basically. So whatever's going on is enough to make this maid, who had been working with them for years, quit. Straight up. Out of the blue. And leave. So already on a weird start. And everyone thought she was kind of crazy. But then Andreas himself started finding things weird as well. He would start hearing things, the family would start feeling things, and let's see, I want to get the timetable right. Let's see, he once found a strange newspaper on their kitchen table, and it was not a newspaper that they subscribed to or whatever, I don't know. And he would ask his neighbors. No one else knew what that newspaper was. It was not a local newspaper. It was in their house, though.
That's weird.
Very strange.
Did it say where the newspaper was from if it wasn't local?
No, it didn't. The problem with this case is that it was in 1922. So, I mean, long time ago. Not a lot of things were kept. And secondly, he refused to go to police about any of this stuff. He actively refused, meaning there was no official investigation and evidence and, official reports, things like that. So everything we know is from word of mouth, which is not great, but that's what we have. So, and what we know is mostly from his next door neighbor. And by next door neighbor, I mean 200 yards away.
Yeah.
And his name was... Shoot. I can't find it. There's
Lederhosen von Lederhosen.
Lorenz Schlittenbauer.
Schlittenbauer, huh?
I believe. Yes. So
what a name.
Yeah. Because he would tell his neighbor about this stuff. And he also told his neighbor that one time, just days before the murders, Andreas found he was locking up for the night kind of thing, going to bed, getting ready to hit the hay, get the family ready for bed. And he goes to the back door, and he notices that there are footsteps leading into the back door, in the snow. And so he asks the family, hey, did anyone come in the back door recently? And everyone's like, no, we don't use the back door. We came in the front door or, whatever. And so he goes out and looks closer and realizes there are footsteps coming into the home, but there are no footsteps going away from the home. And he goes and cases the house, and nothing out of the ordinary in terms of that. So he follows the footsteps backwards, and it goes to the forest that they're near. And basically where the forest starts, the footsteps end. So apparently, these footsteps just started, went right to his back door, and that's it. So whatever it was is either in his home at this point, or paranormal. I don't know. Regardless, terrifying. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So he's telling this to his neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, and this guy goes, hey, that's kind of messed up. I have a few extra rifles. Do you want to take one just in case something's going on at your place? And you know what he says? Nah, I'm fine. No. It's probably nothing.
Oh.
So...
Dude, how can you not... I get freaked out by my own footsteps in the snow outside my house because I never remember that it's me. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Especially living next to the woods, that's creepy too, where there's no one else that lives around you and you can't play it off as oh, somebody must have come and just visited earlier, or yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, it's definitely disturbing. So basically, that's the last time that his neighbor hears of him. Then a few days later, basically someone comes to fix their something on the farm. And he tries to get a hold of the family. No one's there. He goes, okay, whatever. Fixes it. Then goes and tells the neighbor, hey, can you let them know that I was here and that I fixed it and it's working fine? And he goes, yeah, sure. But then he goes, that's weird that they haven't, been out. So he goes over and finding the home's front door unlocked, him and it looks like he took some of his sons, I believe. They head and look around, can't find anything. Oh, sorry. I missed a big old paragraph of my notes. So this man who is fixing a feeding trough or something like that. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. He's fixing farm equipment. He notices when he's knocking on the doors whenever a dog is barking on the inside and that lights are on. And it's like, all right, weird. They should be answering. It looks like they're home kind of thing. But no, he goes back to the back door, does the same thing, nothing. And then goes and fixes the thing. But on his way back, he notices that the dog is actually outside and chained up. Like on a lead kind of thing, So, dog's outside now and was previously inside. So he goes, oh, okay, now they're home. Knocks on the door, nothing. But still lights are on and all that stuff. So, when they find that the home is locked, the neighbor, they go, okay, well, let's go check out the barn. They head to the barn, and in the corner of the barn, underneath hay, there are 4 bodies, I think.
Ugh.
Yeah, 4 bodies underneath hay, just dead. Blood everywhere. Craziness. And it's obvious that they were all dead because of blows to the head. And then they stacked the bodies on top of each other, and then, covered by a board and some hay. And obviously they get the police involved. And they break open into the house, go and look around, and they find Maria, the maid, and Joseph, I don't know how it's pronounced in that language, in their beds. And Joseph's a 2-year-old, remember, dead.
Oh my goodness.
Bludgeoned to death in their beds. But here's where things get a little interesting. They were able to say with pretty relative certainty that they'd been dead for 5 or so days, and that they were pretty dang sure that the murders happened on March 31st. Now, when the guy came over, it was April 4th. So March 31st and 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. 4 days later.
Okay.
When they went in to the house, they said somebody has been here recently. There was some leftover burning ash in the fireplace. There was mail had been found on the inside of the home, like from a few days recently. The farm had been upkept, the cows were milked. And things like that. So this person who apparently murdered them, or people, lived in the home for 5 days after killing them.
It's messed up.
Not only...
Dude, why,
and with 2 bodies as well.
Well, how can you have the confidence to just be like, oh, no one will catch me, I'll just chill here for 5 days?
Yep. Multiple neighbors said they claimed they saw smoke coming out of the chimney for days afterwards. And somebody had seemingly fed the family's livestock.
That's crazy.
That's disturbing. What in the world?
Yeah.
Were they trying to just steal the farm? Is that what it was? Anyway. Apparently, by the time the lead investigator, George, I don't know, Reingruber arrived in Munich, which he was not close, because the nearest police department was Munich, about 45 miles away. And in 1922, it takes a minute to travel 45 miles. Apparently, by the time he got there, dozens of people had walked through the crime scene, destroying evidence and in the process compromising the police's investigation. So, I don't know, I guess people heard about it and wanted to come see or something like that. But
here, let's go see all these dead bodies in a barn.
But I don't know how they were able to tell, but they were able to tell that each of the people that died in the barn was lured in there one by one.
So I had heard that, and I'd heard, so somehow they were, whether it was like they heard a sound out there and each of them went out separately or something.
I don't know how, but somehow they claimed that they were lured in individually, one at a time, killed, put in the corner, and then the next person would be lured in, killed, and put in the corner, and done that 4 times without anyone noticing, I guess.
That's weird.
They had all found, they found that the weapon nearby, it was a mattock. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a farming tool that's similar to a pickaxe, and that they had all died by blunt short force trauma to the head with it, and that the women had strangulation marks on their necks, which is rather strange. That only the women. Not only that, this part is absolutely just horrible, but the younger Kazilia, who was 7 years old at the time, apparently did not die immediately.
Oh.
It took her hours to die, trapped beneath her 3 family members' bodies.
Oh my gosh.
She was literally buried by her dead family members alive.
Oh.
7 years old. And when they found her, they had found her her fists were full of her own hair, and that she had bald spots all over her head.
7 years old?
Dude,
that is heartbreaking.
Pain, shock, all that other stuff. Apparently, she just pulled out her own hair while dying under her own family.
Oh my gosh, dude. I can't even imagine.
That is terrible.
Man.
Like I said, 6 months prior, the family's previous maid reportedly quit after hearing footsteps in the attic, which made her believe the house was haunted, among other things. Let's see. The theory is that a killer hid in the barn and perhaps the attic, which some thought accounted for the footsteps that the maid heard previously. Andreas also mentioned his keys had gone missing, which is weird, especially in that circumstance. You know, keys going missing today is quite normal, but back then, when there's only like 6 of you on the property and you don't really go anywhere, the keys just disappearing and not a single person knowing where they were was kind of a big deal. And there's probably a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing is that they thought at first it was a robbery gone wrong or something. But they found multiple places of cash in the open that was not taken. And valuable items not taken. Nothing was trashed. Nothing like that. This person literally just lived there, supposedly for a few days after, and supposedly for at least 5 days before the murders too. Was living either in the house, in the attic, or in the barn, or a combination of them.
That's what I was gonna say, because it seems like, wasn't the dad like looking through the house days before?
Yeah.
Trying to find somebody, and the maid. So in something I read, I read that he was like, he destroyed the house looking up and down for somebody in there. Like trying to find anyone that was in the house.
I do know he looked around. I don't know how hard he looked, but he definitely did look around, and he said he looked in the attic and in the barn, but found nothing.
Gosh, dude.
But when people were like, okay, when the police were like, okay, well, who didn't like this guy who wanted them dead? Everybody kind of laughed because everybody hated him, apparently.
Mm.
So, the 2-year-old son, Joseph, Andreas Gruber, is apparently, the mother was his daughter, but the father was thought to be someone else, was actually him. He was not very nice to his own daughter, if you catch my drift.
Incestuous baby.
Incestuous baby, yes. So he was not a very well-liked man. And also, on top of that, he was apparently pretty radical Nazi supporter.
Oh.
I mean, this is 1922. And in Germany. And so some people didn't like him for that. And so basically, he had a lot of enemies, which was not helpful. And there have been more than 100 suspects since the opening of this case.
Dang.
And so it's kind of crazy because there's just no way to tell. Because there's just so much. Apparently Sorry,
go on. I was going to say, do they have any suspects? But I'm guessing you may be getting to that.
Not really. The next door neighbor is like one of the number one suspects. Crap, I already forgot his name again. Jeez, let me scroll back up.
Schlittenbauer or something?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Because he had, close immediate access to the farm. He had weapons. And I heard that the Matic that farming equipment used to do the murders apparently takes some knowledge to even, hold correctly.
So a Matic, I've used one before. It's like a pickaxe where one of the ends is a pick, and then the other end is looks like a hoe or an axe almost, where it's like the one end is the pick, and on the other end it's like a sideways axe. If you know what I'm talking about.
Let's see. I'm bringing up images of it now for the peoples to see.
So it's something. It's kind of like. So basically, if you think of a classic pickaxe, with one end is a pick. The other end is like a blade, almost. Okay. And in having swung one many times, the balance of it is interesting because one side is a little bit heavier than the other. So it's like swinging any metal tool, like a sledgehammer or an axe or something like that. But this one is a little bit more the balance of it's interesting because that flat blade side is a little bit heavier than the pick side. So in my experience, that's how it was anyway. So I could see where they'd say that it would be a little bit different to swing one.
Oh, yeah, but anybody could use that without problem.
Right.
So that's another weird thing. Let's see, there's another suspect. Jeez. Who was thought to be Victoria's husband, who is the daughter, that she was a widow because he died, but people are saying he didn't actually die. And when he learned that the kid wasn't actually his kid and that it was an incest baby, he got all sorts of upset. But that doesn't make sense why you would kill the girl and the kid as well.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're really messed up, but I feel like you just care about the dad and that's it, right?
Yeah, that doesn't seem as likely to me. Maybe, but
the reason why people think that is because it was claimed he died in World War I, but his body was never recovered. So there's no proof of his death, supposedly. So people think it was a revenge thing. He returned and murdered everybody. But claims also arose that Karl was sighted during World War II wearing Soviet Union military uniform.
Interesting.
But,
Maybe
yep.
he like left Germany and was just pissed off and
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, yeah, he's like, I committed murder. I got to go somewhere else, kind of thing, and ended up in Russia, I guess. But
right.
I don't know. And there's a few others. I mean, there's a lot others. Like I said, there are 100 suspects, over 100 suspects that were thought to be dead. And what's interesting is they did an on-site autopsy, meaning they didn't take the bodies back. They did them right in the barn, kind of thing. And for further examination, instead of sending the entire bodies, they literally cut off everybody's heads and sent just the heads back.
Why?
I assume because that's where, I mean, everybody's bashed in the head, and that's where they're going to get all the information. It'd be a lot easier. I don't exactly know. But,
I guess.
And apparently the heads and skulls went missing and were never found, and they had to be buried without heads.
That's weird.
A little strange.
How convenient that they went missing.
Yeah. In 1999, an elderly woman contacted authorities claiming her former landlord admitted to having information about the Hinterkaifeck murders. Officials investigated this tip and learned that the landlord supposedly made this claim in 1935. However, it was too late as he was no longer alive. That is...
Did you say what his name was?
I could probably find it. Maybe not. Yeah, I can't see off the top. Like, I'll just, really quick search, but it's probably out there. But in 2007, they actually reopened the case. But, because, yeah, they had, new technieks and, new technology and stuff like that. So students at, Fürstenfeldbruck Police Academy.
Wow. Nice job.
Thank you.
That's way better than I would have done.
Used modern techniques to investigate the unsolved case. The students ruled out all but one suspect as they believed committed the murders in the Hinterkaifeck farm. However, the suspected killer was dead, so they did not publicly name the person they believed was responsible for the massacre out of respect for the suspect's living relatives and the victim's memory. And then they just closed it again right after that. So...
Interesting.
We don't know anything, is basically how that went. Another actually suspect that I forgot to write down, but I just remembered, is that there was I want to say a mental institution or something of the sort nearby, and by nearby I mean like within 100 miles or something like that. And apparently like a week or two before the killings or something like that, I don't remember exactly the time frame, but recent before the killings, an inmate who was apparently crazy had escaped and was believed to be in that area. So that is another thing, is they think it's just some crazy dude that just wandered in, just killed everyone and went, this will be a nice place to live. And then as soon as somebody came and knocked on the door, he freaked out and ran. But this is one of the most gruesome and disturbing murder stories I've ever seen.
Well, completely unsolved, too. Like, that's the weird part about it. There's, no information.
None. Basically none.
Dude, that's crazy. I had heard about it, but I had no idea, the extent of it.
Let's see.
Sorry, keep going.
No, that's pretty much everything. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm rereading through everything, but no, I think we got everything. But it's just crazy how they killed 6 people. You did mention that it was the new maid's first day, right? Working for the family. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, no, it was, I think, her second day. I think she arrived the day before, and that day was her first working day. And died. There's some
sucks.
horrible luck right there.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see here. I did miss this. They found that bodies were moved around, items were moved around, and even cooked and eaten meals in the kitchen. That's another thing I forgot to mention.
Huh.
But yeah, it's terrible and horrifying.
Dude, that the kid, like the girl, that's what gets me the most is
horrible.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was clear the perpetrator has remained at the farm for several days. Someone who had fed the cattle, eaten the entire supply of bread from the kitchen and other foods, and recently cut meat from the pantry.
Cut meat from the pantry?
Yeah, I guess they kept their meat uncut, and you just shave off base. I don't know. That's what it says.
1920s were a different time.
Yeah, and they officially closed the case in 1955, over 30 years later. But then, yes, they reopened it, but yeah.
Unless it's tuna fish, I don't want to eat any meat out of my pantry.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a cold pantry?
Yeah, maybe. Cold storage room or something. Potentially. Dude, that's messed up.
Yeah, it says here, later attempt, however, revealed that human screams from the barn could not be heard from the living area. So apparently it was just far enough away that even if you were being bludgeoned to death and screaming for help, no one in the house could hear you, which, I mean, how far away is that thing? Because scream's scary.
Yeah. That is weird, man. How far away is the barn? But also, like, my weird thing is, how did they lure them all out individually? Like, you think at some point someone would notice, like, oh, hey, 2 of my family members went out to the barn over the last 3 hours and haven't come back yet. Like,
and maybe that's how they got lured out. Is that like, hey, can you go check on this person? He went out to the barn and we haven't seen him for a while. And, oh yeah, I'll go check on him.
That's actually,
and then 20 minutes later they go, he hasn't come back either. You want to go check on him? And she'll go, yeah, I'll go check. And
that's actually a good thought. I didn't think about it that way.
I didn't see this one before, but it says on the night after the crime, 3 days before the bodies were even discovered, an artisan named Michael Plockle happened to pass by Hinterkaifeck. He observed that the oven had been heated by somebody. That person had approached him with a lantern and blinded him, whereupon he hastily continued on his way. He also noticed that the smoke from the fireplace had a disgusting smell. This incident was not investigated, and there were no investigations conducted to determine what had been burned in the oven.
Interesting. Like, disgusting, like, human smell or something?
Yes, but I mean, they found all the humans. It's not like a human was missing or burnt or anything like that.
That's true.
Or a leg missing or something. And then on April 1st, which is, again, the day after the murders, a farmer and butcher named Simon Reislander, on the way home near Brunnen, saw 2 unknown figures at the edge of the forest. When the strangers saw him, they turned around so their faces could not be seen. Later, when he heard of the murders, he thought it was possible that those strangers may have been involved. And again, that's possible that there was more than one person involved in these killings.
Yeah. Well, I would think there would have had to have been with, I don't know. It seems like a lot of, I feel like it was very well planned out for them to not get caught after all the, like, footsteps leading up to the back of the house, the dad, like, ravaging the house. Like,
hearing
that's crazy to me.
Steps and the voices and...
Yeah, it's like, how many times did they check for that? Like, That's horrifying.
Very, very horrifying.
I don't like it. But I do
Oh.
at the same time. So it's still unsolved. And this was what, 1920s, you said? Like 22 or something?
1922. And for, let's see, for reference, World War II started in 1939. So, when did World War I end? 1918. So this is very 4 years after World War I.
Yeah, what was that, 1914 and 1918?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, man. So the husband of the lady was in World War I.
Correct.
Thought to be seen in World War II. Was the dad in World War I too?
No idea. Probably, given his age. Well, actually, probably not. Since it's 4 years later, he was in his 60s. He would have been 50-something and during World War I. Probably didn't want him.
That's true. Yeah.
Probably didn't take people over like 35 or 40 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the standard was back then.
Also, this is Germany, not anything I'm familiar with.
True.
Well, what do you think? Who did it, Austin?
I mean, the most obvious suspect would be the husband, the lady's husband, because he had motive. Like, as much as I don't think, yeah, if he's still alive. So that's a good point. I think he had the most motive of anybody.
Oh wait,
I mean, I don't know why.
Talking about motive, I did forget to mention one piece of interesting factoid. The next door neighbor guy, he wanted to, him or his son, I can't remember, one of them wanted to marry that girl. But the dad said, no, absolutely not. You will never be near my daughter, kind of thing. So,
interesting.
That being said, that's got some motive too, saying like, okay, you can't have my daughter. That's pretty bad. But then also hearing that, you had assaulted that daughter that you wanted to marry.
Yeah.
But then again, why would you end up murdering that girl and the kids too? A 7 and 2-year-old. You gotta be a cold-hearted person. Like, you gotta be below horrible to do something like that.
Well, I wonder if it was anything like a murder-suicide at all, because when I was mentioning this to my wife, she was like, was it a murder-suicide? And I was like, I never thought of that, but the reason I asked if the dad was in World War I, like if it was like a PTSD type of rage thing and he killed his family and then...
But how would he pile himself into the corner with a bludgeoned head as a suicide? Right. That doesn't super make sense.
That also doesn't explain somebody living in the house for like 5 days after also.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, man, I don't know. Like,
if I'm being completely honest, I think it was just someone random. I don't think it was anyone they knew. Yeah. I think it was just someone who happened to wander onto the property, see a house, and go, I want to live there. I don't care if there's people. This is my place now. And he took it. Or she, or they. That's what I believe, but, my guess is as good as anyone else's at this point.
I wonder why everyone hated him. Like, did you mention that? I couldn't remember
because
if you mentioned
he was known publicly to be a incester of his daughter.
Oh, that's right.
And also that he was pretty radical in the Nazi ways or something like that.
That's right. So, yeah, I don't know. I had heard rumors that there was an American serial killer that was supposedly in Germany at the time. I don't remember his name. Was it something Kemper or something? Maybe he was the one that...
I do not know.
And I remember hearing that might have been something that happened, but yeah, I have no idea. It could have been, like you said, somebody completely random. It could have been the neighbor. who knows? But like, I just don't get, if it was somebody that they knew, like, why would they kill the whole family and not just him? Like, if they're like, this guy's an incestuous jerk, like, why not save the family from him instead of killing them all? You know?
Yeah, it kind of doesn't feel like there was one specific target. It was just,
Right.
Wrong place, wrong time type of thing.
Yeah, that's a sad one. And I hope someday, like, it does seem like there are more and more crimes that they can, like, get DNA evidence for after the fact and, like, years later and somehow solve. So I hope that someday there's, like, justice that comes from this. But it doesn't seem like, you said, they're buried without heads.
Yeah, plus, the crime scene was apparently just tainted beyond belief by the time that the police got there. And it was a small town at the time, so they didn't have much. So they didn't, like, collect any evidence or anything like that. So
it's also, like... Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say the likelihood of this being solved, I feel like it's getting smaller and smaller instead of bigger and bigger with technology.
That's true. Yeah, it's also, like, if he lived there for 5 days, or she... then he would have had lots of time to clean stuff up or like get rid of evidence or whatever.
Also, yeah, that's another reason I don't think it was like the neighbor, because like his own family would have noticed that he was, gone for most of the days, living in the other place. I think that would have been pretty obvious.
Also, like, what do they define as living? Was it like, oh, one time today I saw smoke coming from the chimney, and so they're living there? Because he could have easily gone and made it look like somebody was living there so that it took the heat off of the suspicion. Like, oh, they're alive, they're fine. Let's not go check their house for murder. Like,
maybe.
I don't know. But he would have had the most easy access to the house, like living right there.
That's true.
And if he lives on a farm, like maybe his family doesn't find it suspicious that he's out all day. Like, oh, he's just out working on the farm or doing something. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. But I do feel like a family member, like the son-in-law, like the husband guy, maybe would have been comfortable enough to stay in the home. Like, or if it was the dad that did murder-suicide, which after what you said, I don't find that likely, but like somebody that was close to the family that could have had access to the home and was comfortable living there. I don't know.
I do not know, and I don't think I ever will. So they've actually made some movies on it.
Oh, really?
There's a documentary film called Hinterkaifeck Symbols des Unheimlichen. Very German. It was made in 1981. And another one in 1991 called Hinterkaifeck Deutschlands. Oh, jeez. Geheimnisvollster Mordfall. Perfect enunciation.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Love it.
But
well, regardless, it is a riveting case. I love stuff. I mean, obviously it's terribly sad, but also very interesting to look into.
Quite. If you know anything about this, please let us know. Or there's really not much to know about this, I guess. Let's see. If you've seen any of those movies, that'd be neat.
You think any of our viewers know anything about this?
Yeah, one of our listeners was the killer.
I think we do have some listeners in Germany, if I remember right.
Uh-oh. We're on to you. But yeah. Another reason it's harder to solve is because they demolished the place about 6 months after. And rebuilt stuff over it. Because apparently they had no will. and all of the family was dead. So there was like no living family nearby to give it to. So they just demolished it and rebuilt stuff on it. So yeah, and that has been apparently difficult to, like, you can't go back and look. Okay, so if the thing was here and this was here, and,
Yeah.
kind of thing, like it's almost impossible to tell because there's also no like blueprints or landscape maps, whatever you call those things. So
Yeah.
darn.
Well, thanks for sharing your wealth of knowledge about this case with us.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Well, I say fun, but you know what I mean. Like,
I know what you mean.
It's an interesting one. And yeah, if you guys have any other cases you want us to cover like this, please let us know. I love doing the true crime type stuff. I think it's interesting. And yeah, reach out to us. You can reach out to us through voice messages on our anchor.fm page, anchor.fm/tangent podcast. Is that right?
That's correct.
So you can leave us messages there. You can reach out on the social media or through email, and we would love to hear from you guys. So please let us know if there's any cases that you're dying to hear about, and we would love to dig into them with you.
Or even if you just want to say, questions or comments or concerns, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you for literally anything.
Yep. Well, thank you, and we will be back with you guys next week.
All right. You guys have yourselves a wonderful week, and try not to miss us too bad.
We'll see ya.